All right, so my first video for this channel was about my hype for the movie The Flash. Boy, was that a swing and a miss, huh? Let's get into it. So, what up, world? Welcome back once again. Back here to Nerdy Rhythm, the dopest place on earth. I want to thank y'all so much for tuning in one more time. Hey, you liking the new setup? A little bit of new lighting, new setup. What do you think? I received some feedback before that, the situation wasn't working, angle wasn't working. How do you like the new digs? Let me know in the comments below. All right, so as we get into this, though, as I said in this intro, we're going to be talking about The Flash and my reaction to the new Flash movie that is out in theaters right now. All right. So, spoilers ahead, okay? Because I have no idea of how to talk about what I need to talk about without giving certain spoilers, all right? But again, it is great to see you and great to have you. I go by the name of Alive. You can find me at Alive Raps. And again, this is the dopest place on earth, Nerdy Rhythm. Tell me, first and foremost, in the comments, drop the comments below. What was your take on The Flash? I would love to know if you have the same as mine, all right? Because here's the thing. Let me start off here. I came out of this movie thoroughly confused. Not because of the movie, but honestly because of a lot of people that, YouTubers that I admire and trust their opinions and look up to them. I was confused at the amount of, how they were gushing over this movie. So many people for months before this movie came out in theaters, even down to Tom Cruise saying this movie's incredible and all of that. James Gunn himself giving high praise to the movie. Then you have, people that I watch online, pundits, YouTube pundits as they call themselves, critics, and these people saw this movie at CinemaCon. And they gave nothing but high praise to this movie. Nothing but high praise. And I'm coming out of this movie and I'm like, how? How did y'all give this so much praise? How did some of you came out of this movie and then after seeing Spider-Man on some this and Spider-Man was kind of very close, but I got to give it to Spider-Man type of thing. Or this and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was this close, but I feel like Flash is a bit of a better movie. How? I don't get it. It's making me I came out of this am I seeing something different? Am I bugging? Am I the one bugging? It just baffles me. And now I'm wondering if, David Zaslav and even possibly James Gunn was kind of the execs of the theater of WB and all that was kind of hyping the movie up to try and get their money back. Only to turn around and end up having just as bad, or if not worse, of an opening weekend than Black Adam. What? How? How does this happen? Who let this happen? I don't get it. I'm very confused. I feel like some of y'all I can't trust. Some of y'all that I've been watching for years, I don't know about some of y'all. Some of y'all I can't trust your opinion like that anymore. I don't know. It's making me question all of reality. And I am overwhelmed with this tug and pull on both sides. I am a grief-stricken man over this. This is crazy to me. All right, let me stop. if you've seen the opening weekend for The Flash, you could see the numbers don't lie. This movie, though a huge campaign for it, didn't turn out having the type of turnout that it should have had. But then on top of that, it is extremely divisive. You know, I would say around the same as Multiverse of Madness last year, if not worse. Because at least Multiverse of Madness was still making money. Granted, you could chalk that up to it's the DCU, the MCU and all of that, right? You could chalk that up into there's a bunch of fans that are invested in the story, so they have to see what's coming up next. All of that, right? And, you know, the cameos and all these things. But the thing is that this movie promised a lot of that same stuff. This movie promised a multiverse. This movie promised the cameos and all of that stuff. This movie promised the nostalgia factor of certain things, right? And it was hyped up like crazy, even to the point where at CinemaCon, it was hyped up by all y'all pundits that went out there. And then on top of that, it's having this divisive online reaction, right? People are reacting online on some like, yo, like, what was that? What did I just watch? All of that, right? They're reacting online like that, right? But then on top of that, this movie gets a low cinema score, okay? This is a B cinema score, all right? For those who don't know, a cinema score, I hope I'm using the right term, but yeah, a cinema score is basically where, you know, they poll people that come right out the movie. So you come right out the movie and then they turn around and they're like, hey, what'd you think? Did it meet your expectations? Did you get what you feel like you saw in the trailers? Did it meet or your expectations, or go higher or go lower? To get a B for a movie like this that has the type of money put behind it, that has are they called tempo characters? I don't even know what that really means. Tempo characters, do y'all? But I'm just gonna use it here because I think it makes sense. Tempo characters, such as multiple Batmen, right? You getting a Supergirl in this as well. We knew all of that from the trailers, right? And then you're getting a Flash who has been in multiple movies prior to this, whether you say they're good or bad. He's at least known. He's a known character. If the Flash is not a nobody, you know? All of that, including one of the biggest draws, Mr. Michael Keaton himself, 89 Batman, donning the cape and cowl, once again, ladies and gentlemen, at the ripe old age of, I don't know, he's in the 70s? And you still end up with a B. That's pretty bad, okay? A B doesn't sound bad to you, but with something like this on an opening weekend on this type of scale, it is bad. Into the Spider-Verse got an A, I believe. Usually these type of movies, because here's the thing, also, you got to remember that it's opening weekend. So these are the people that was like, I'm hyped for this movie. I'm buying my ticket now. I'm going now. I'm making sure I get there as soon as, like me. I was there opening night. All right. So I'm getting my ticket now. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there the first night it's out. I'm going to make sure nothing's spoiled for me. All of that. Those are those type of people. They're invested. All right. They put money and time behind this. They wanted to be there to see this movie. They had a hype for the movie. All right. It's not someone that's like, maybe I'll see how it does and I'll catch it next week. No, these are people that's like, yo, up in there, like, yo, here's my ticket. Give me the best seat. Give me the best experience. That's the type of people. They're coming out. Usually those are the type of people that come out excited, hype. They might even be like, you know, their brains might be in a fog from their anticipation and love for the movie, that they come out and give a cinema score that might not be entirely accurate because they're going for the hype, or they're riding off the hype. yo, for people to come out of this movie and be like, yo, it was less than my expectations, that movie did not do well. A B is low for a movie like this. So you lost in the cinema score, right? You caused the fans to get even more outraged over this, right? And then your numbers are being compared to that of Black Adam. That is a flop. That is a fail on a massive level. And this is like a $200 million movie, if not more. Bro, what are we talking about right now? This is bad. Let me get into the movie now, right? I've been chatting enough. I've been talking about. I just wanted to set the scene here, all right? Do I hate this movie? No. I have some friends that think that this is the worst movie ever made in the history of movies. I'm not gonna go there, all right? In a lineup of movies that includes Morbius, I can't call this the worst movie ever. I'm sorry. I keep cracking on Morbius just because it's a funny thing to do at this point. I'm sorry, Jared Leto. Forgive me. Insert scary Morbius face here of Mad Morbius. But anyway, funny enough, Michael Keaton was in that too. Anyway, so in my opinion, no, this is not the worst movie ever made. All right? It's not the worst comic book movie ever made, in my opinion. All right? Is it the worst DC movie? I'd have to get back to you on that. Because to be honest with you, I have never seen the Shazams. Relax. I will, okay? But, yeah. And I'm hearing terrible things about Aquaman too, so we'll see how that goes, right? But anyway, no, I don't think it. And here's the thing. I think that actually, I thought personally that The Flash was actually somewhat entertaining. I enjoyed a good portion of this movie. I did, all right? Let me say that. The way I've been describing this movie to people, though, is that this movie is a mix of both great choices and then all the way in the right field, left field, however you're seeing this orientation-wise, all the way to terrible choices. It's that mixture. It's this crazy pendulum swing from fantastic choices all the way over to why? Why did you do that? Why? Someone explain why. And because of that, I'm not a fan of this movie. This movie actually, for me, was quite disappointing. I think that's the best way for me to describe this, is that this movie was disappointing. It did not meet my expectations whatsoever. It didn't. And it hurts for me to say that because if you saw my last video, my first video, I had high expectations for this movie. That's literally the thumbnail of the last video. High expectations. That is what I walked in there with. I felt like the trailers were selling me something. And even though the trailers showed a lot, the trailers were showing so much, I didn't care because it looked great. And the way it was presented was superb. It moved me emotionally. The trailer, I loved it. So it had me going. I was going in, walking on a cloud and so confident. I was even arguing with a friend of mine that I saw this movie with, where he was just like, no, I think it's going to be trash. And I was just like, nah, you're bugging, man. You're bugging. It's going to be great. You're crazy to think this is going to be trash. As I said, I don't think it was trash. But man, Mitch, you weren't far from that. I got to give it to you. You were not far off. I guess I was completely jaded, along with the rest of us. So let me get into this now. All right, let me dive into it. It didn't start off with greatness. Maybe that's another big issue here, though. It did not start off with greatness. In my opinion, this is all, movies are subjective. That is something I'm learning over and over again. But boy, y'all confuse me with your subjectivity. But movies are subjective. All right, cool. So in my subjective point of view, my opinion, all right, it started off on a terrible note. See, there's a certain way that you set a tone for the movie. All right, I'm gonna do a video of Guardians and Spider-Man and all that stuff, right? There's a certain tone that you start a movie with. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. If you haven't seen it, I'm sorry, but spoilers there. It starts off with, I believe it was I think Rocket being chosen out of the raccoon babies or something like that. Something like that. But the most memorable part of that beginning is when he's listening to the camera zooms out on his face and he's listening to the song I'm a Creep, or just Creep, right? I believe this is the acoustic version. And it just slowly pans out. And then he's walking, and as he's walking, you're seeing the other Guardians and stuff like that. You're seeing Quill drunk out of his mind. It sets the tone for the movie. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, right? It starts off with the drum beats, Gwen playing the drum. It starts off with her, with this beat, right? And the animation, oh my gosh, it's giving me goosebumps as I think of it. And she's talking about Miles and their story, and she's like, and he's not the only one, and I'm not the only one. This repetitive thing, and then you see this. It goes into this thing where it's following her from one part of her world to another in different color palettes of these watercolor beauties, and the music comes in, and that it sets the tone for the movie, right? This movie starts off. And I admit, I need a second watch. I'm planning on giving a second watch, and I'll give an update to any of this if anything changes, all right? But it starts off with Barry trying to get his morning breakfast or something like that in this coffee shop that I guess is meant to imitate a bit of a Starbucks type of vibe. But the thing is that the barista is completely unbelievable. It's unrealistic in a movie that is not necessarily, based on reality. There's no person running around the world in 2 seconds, all right? I get that. But there's still this aspect of believability within this fantasy world that you want to see so that there's some type of connection you can have. And something as simple as getting a cup of coffee in a Starbucks-like type of vibe, which I practically live at, is dealing with a barista who's going on and on about that. That doesn't happen. I feel like that's something like a hairdresser in Zoolander or something like that. I feel like that's where I would see a guy like that. So off jump, I'm just like, oh, please stop this. Stop. Don't tell me he's going to keep talking. Don't tell me he's going to talk about his sister and all this, and like, you can't rush food, like all these things. It's just ridiculous. This is starting off kind of ridiculous, and I'm trying to fight the unbelievability of it all. Like, no, let's hold on to the high hopes. This doesn't work for me, but maybe the rest will. And also, it's not that funny. To be honest, it's not that funny for me. Then you have Barry about to take off. He asks the girls if they could throw a candy bar. It hits him in the head, and he doesn't even bother to pick it up and eat it. I don't understand. All right, anyway, moving on. Then he sets off on this run. Initially, it starts off dope. The world kind of like expands and stuff like that. It's fantastic, all of that. And then it has him running to some like rock music. Music wasn't that good, in my opinion. He's running. And I'm looking at this. And I'm like, what is happening right now? What am I watching? Because this doesn't look good. His runs in prior DC movies have looked much better than this. I mean, look, you could always complain about the whole thing he's doing here, which they kind of poke fun at in the movie, and I enjoyed that. Some enjoyable things. But overall, I'm looking at he's still doing that run, but the thing is that it doesn't look good. Yo, the CGI in the first 5 minutes is awful. How? This is supposed to be the scene that draws me in. This is supposed to be the thing that helps me to be like, yeah, let's go. It's setting the tone for the movie. It sets it on a bad note. That leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And now you're doing the one thing that you should never do in a film. You're making the audience member work within the intro of the movie. You're making them have to, instead of making it easy for them to gravitate to it and latch on to what they're seeing, you're making it difficult for them to do that. Now the audience member like me has to work in their brain. It's taking me out of the story. Now I'm in my head on some like, yo, why does this look like this? Is this supposed to look like this? Maybe there's a reason it looks like this. Now I'm having to work like that. An audience member should not be given the responsibility of trying to keep themselves in the movie. No, not in your first 5 minutes. So when you start off and you intro with something that looks like where I don't even feel the power of his run. I'm not feeling the lightning bolts or anything like that. It feels like this distant image that is circling around him. And it's almost like he's still running on a treadmill in front of green screen or something like that. None of it looks believable. Even the Flash himself looks like a CGI PS2 cut screen, bro. Cut scene. Like what is happening right now? In the intro? You do this in the intro? And then he gets to Gotham because Batman has summoned him to save a hospital, right? He gets to Gotham. He's talking. It was great to see Ben Affleck's version of Alfred, right? That was cool seeing that again. I always thought he was real swaggy. I thought he had like. I thought he was a smooth Alfred, and I appreciated that. But he gets to Gotham, and they're talking, and he's like, "You gotta save this hospital, all right?" Even the stuff that was like regular and not crazy was just kind of a little weird. Like he's going into the basement, tying up hoses or wires or something like that, and it's like, why? I don't even know why he's doing that, you know? And there's some parts of it that are cool, and you know, they like running over here, grab this person, bring them here, all that stuff. That's pretty cool, right? Bro, then there's this part that looks like it's straight out of the CW. Sorry for y'all CW fans. No smoke for CW. I don't have any smoke for CW, but it's a certain type of taste. It's a certain type of flavor, you know, and CW leans into that, you know. And for TV, that works in general. You can't argue with that. It's TV, right? There's a whole nother expectation I have for a $200 million film. All right? It turns into this wonky type of situation where, you know, the building is collapsing, and out of one of the floors of the building, he's like, yeah, I got everyone out. I think he said that. Out of one of the floors of the building, out pops the entire nursery ward, I guess. And the nurse herself, and they all slide out of the building, a falling building, and they're falling to the ground. That whole part of it looked fake. Even the real things of it did not look grounded in reality. Do you understand? Even the aspects of that fall, like the beforehand of them actually falling out the window, the cracks in it, all of it just looked so like quirky, bro. It looked like something out of like that didn't take much effort at all. And then they start falling out of the building. And one of the corniest lines that angers me, even right now, bro, this intro don't make no sense. Both Alfred and Barry look up like, and Barry's got this stupid zoomed in fishbowl face like, which just annoyed me. But, and maybe you liked it, but I wasn't a fan. They're falling out, and they both Barry and Alfred are like, it's a baby shower. Really? Baby shower? Are we serious right now? All of these babies look CGI. They look so fake, it's crazy. I can't believe what I'm watching in that first scene. Like, this movie is already making me work in overdrive with confusion about what I'm watching. The babies are all CGI'd and these weird reactions and all this stuff, and the woman is falling out and everything, along with all these other things, and there's a CGI dog that's falling out, and then the Flash, there's this, he's running low on energy. So then he punches into a vending machine and he's eating the snacks as he's falling. I guess it's showing how fast he is. And he eats a few snacks, and then his energy's all the way back up again. I get that that's a Flash thing. It just, out of everything that's already taken me out of the experience, that took me even further out of the experience. Like, are you kidding? Like, really? If everything I just explained was like better, looked better, and was executed in a more grounded way, in a sense, I probably would have seen that vending machine part and been like, oh, well, that's funny. I would have taken it because you're doing everything else right, so it's easy for me to take that. But when you give me that on top of everything else you gave me already, now I'm just upset. Now it furthers my distance to this movie. It makes me feel like I'm watching a movie, not like I'm part of it, not like I'm engaged with it. And that's not a good movie experience for me personally. I don't like that. Now he's trying to save the babies and stuff like that, and it's all combobulated, man. It's a sloppy mess, in my opinion. He's like doing one thing with this baby over here, and then he's trying to figure out all these other things all at the same time, and it just, not that there needs to be order to it, but it just makes me more confused. I feel like I'm working to follow along. And again, making the audience member work is the last thing that you should be doing in a film. Unless you're engaging them like in a mystery or like a detective work or something interesting like that. Or like plots and themes, not like this. Come on. And then at one point, they do something that honestly for me and the people I was with was just like really jarring and continued to take us further out of the film. They take a baby. He takes a baby and puts the baby in the microwave. Now look, I know the microwave is unplugged. I know that he was putting the baby in the microwave for protection because there was a fire that was gonna hit it and stuff, like hit the baby and stuff. I get all that. But that was really jarring. And I'm not the only one that thought that. I think that there was a lot better options that they could have, better choices they could have made that didn't involve putting a baby in a microwave. Because there's something about that, to be honest with you, that doesn't sit well with me. And some of y'all might have thought that was hilarious and all that, but to me and a lot of people I was with, that was like, why do that? Amongst everything else, why? It's just, it was weird. He continues to land the babies on a gurney, and he lands them all safely, including the dog and the woman who's like continuously screaming and all that stuff. And then the microwave dings as well, and he takes the baby out. Why did the microwave ding if it wasn't plugged in? I had a friend that said, well, it might have been charged by his electricity. Then that means it could have cooked the baby. So no matter what, this whole situation doesn't make sense. Bro, so that is the intro, okay? That's that left. I'm gonna breeze through the rest of this a lot faster. I had to spend some time on that though, okay? The storyline kind of doesn't hit for me, you know? The emotion of it and stuff like that, you know, when he goes and visits his home and he's looking at his past and he's remembering as a kid and stuff like that, a lot of that seemed a bit, I hate it when movies do this, where it takes like a scene like that. And look, maybe it's the perspective of the child, right? Maybe I'm bugging. Maybe it's the perspective of a child, and in the child's perspective, everything seems like great and perfect, and everyone's dancing and playing with flour on their face and stuff like that. And they sing together in the kitchen. It has that air of unbelievability, like the barista in the beginning, though. Look, I'm not saying don't show how incredible it was to have his mother, you know, how incredible that time of his life was. But I feel like there's a way that they could have executed that would have been a lot more believable, or like would have connected me a lot more, you know, to the gravity of it, you know what I mean? Made me feel even more too. And then Barry just decides to run. He just decides to run. And he runs until he gets into the Speed Force, I believe, right? And now he's in the Speed Force. He doesn't know what's happening. And to be honest, we don't know what's happening either. I didn't like how they did this, where he's like running, but it also looks like he's running backwards. I'm so confused. And even more bad CGI with the whole thing with it's like this stadium and that he's surrounded by, that shows him different events. And I guess as he keeps running, it goes back into the past, and then he sticks his head into that, you know, past, and he's able to see into what's happening. I guess similar to Into the Spider-Verse Across the Spider-Verse with what, you know, the Spot does, you know, where he's got these portals, but his made more sense. You have portals, you put your head in, and he's putting his head into like a stadium seating of his family. I don't know, weird to me, weird. And then he comes out of that somehow, talks to Batman. I like their dialogue. I like their conversation, right? He takes off. It was an Uber exec, you know, executive Uber. You know, like that was pretty dope too. But the girl, I'm forgetting her name. Isis? I'm forgetting her name. I thought it begins with an I. Forgive me if it doesn't. But I don't understand anything between them. I'm not feeling anything between them, you know? There's this attraction, but I have no idea why. Why is she even attracted? Why would she be a reporter and then turn around and start like hitting on him on some, like, yeah, we should get together? And like, yeah, I know they knew each other in college, but according to him, they didn't even talk to each other. Am I bugging? I need to see the movie again. But I feel like that was the case, that they didn't even have an interaction. Or it was very minimal. Because wasn't he surprised that she remembered him? It's not believable. I don't feel any of this. I don't connect with any of this. And then the story kind of jumps the gun where she's in his apartment and they're chatting. And granted, there was some funny things where he cleans up the apartment, he gets a beer, he does the friction thing, goes through the wall. I will say I did like that. They really incorporated a lot of the things that the Flash can do, you know, which was dope because his speed allows him to do certain things, you know, like move the molecules so it moves in between the walls, things like that. That's really dope, you know what I mean? You know, some like science aspects of it, of how he's moving and the friction and like all that stuff is really dope, right? So I appreciated that. I like detail. But then he just is kind of talking to himself and like, but if I just remove this can of tomato paste, then, you know, if I add that, she never forgets the tomatoes. He never has to leave, and she never. All of this stuff to avoid her dying. Dying a death of which we still have no answer to. Instead of figuring out who killed your mom, you want to make sure that she never forgot the tomato paste. Really weird storyline. Weird choice for the story. Because you've set something else up in my mind, but now you're over here solving it with something that honestly is not the main focus of what happened to your mom. Your mom was murdered, and who did it? You know it's not your dad, but who? You could have easily gone into that kitchen and seen who snuck in and stabbed her or whatever. I'm baffled. I really am. So he figures all this out on his own, and then all of a sudden decides like, yeah, that's what I'll do. Okay, bye. And dips. Oh, we should do this again. Do what? You did nothing with this woman. I'm not believing anything that's happening here. So he goes, does the tomato paste thing, right? And then some creature knocks him into some form of that past that he traveled into. Well, an alternate universe now that he's created by changing that tomato paste situation, right? Now he's in a situation where he's seeing his mom. His mom has grown old, as well as his dad. They're together, and they know Barry. Barry's still there, you know, all of that stuff. And they're having great conversation and all that until the other Barry comes home. You know, the Barry of that universe. And for the rest of this movie, there's Ezra Miller playing both Barrys, right? From an alternate past and his current self. Which, I mean, in my opinion, I don't think a lot of people thought his acting was terrible. I don't think his acting is terrible. Is it the best? But I don't think his acting is terrible. I think he could have sold me on a lot more things, to be honest. If I didn't like the portrayal, but I won't say it's terrible. You know, he embodied two different personalities pretty well, in my opinion. But then it goes into this whole, like, extremely comical thing where where the other Barry, he gets his powers taken away, and then Barry gets the powers of Flash. The other Barry, the alternate universe Barry, he gets the powers of Flash. And then you have this whole sequence that is ripped out of something in CW. Again, even the setting that they're in looks so fake. Like you have this other Barry where the other alternate Barry, he runs because he get the powers and he's like running around the city and all these things, and he won't listen to Barry, which is an annoying trope. Why wouldn't you listen to the person that has the powers this entire time? Like, Wouldn't you be slightly freaked out? Like, I know he's younger, but my gosh, he's not a child. This dude is like 18, 19. Like, he's not a child. It's not like he's 15 with these powers. He's in college. Like, I get he's still immature, but come on. I don't know. I hated that. And then he's running all throughout town, runs around, can't control his powers, he's killing people, he's starting fires, he flips a truck over, his fires, he ends up naked because he's on fire from the friction. It's that whole stage set, or whatever that was. You got better sets from The Last of Us. You understand that? You have better sets in like something like Andor. You feel me? This is a $200 million movie. Why does that set, if you watch that again, even the truck flipping over and everything, it looks like something out of like comical, out of like the CW. That's all I could say. The CW. You know, like, I feel like it's something from like the era of, you remember the Santa Claus with Tim Allen and stuff like that? Like that type of, like, you know, which it worked in that movie, but here it doesn't work. A bit of that wonkiness here and there, a bit of that wow wow. Like I feel like that music should be playing, you know, as I'm watching this. It's just this ridiculous thing. Then all the power goes out and all of that, and he's standing there naked and returns in a shameful way, like on some, what happened? To me, it wasn't funny. It just took me further out of the movie. I don't get it. Then he has this whole sequence with his friends and stuff like that, in his dorm room mates or something like that. That was all weird. This guy just gets up and starts playing the piano and stuff like that. And some of that interaction was funny. They did a few things with the Back to the Future reference with, you know, where Michael J. Fox wasn't supposed to get it. So in that universe, it was the other person that got it, all that stuff. But this guy's playing the piano the entire time. This other guy's raising his thigh in his underwear. Like, it's like such a reach that it's not worth it. It's not worth what I'm watching. It isn't. It's such a reach. But there begins to have a turn. Here's the pendulum swing I was talking about. You have like so many terrible choices there, right? I will say that our universe is Barry running in a circle where he didn't have the flash powers and he's still running. Like, that was actually hilarious to me. That was funny, you know? I enjoyed that. I felt like he was poking fun at his own run. It was like a little meta thing. I thought it was dope. So again, it's subtle stuff I appreciate. I did laugh with the roommate stuff, you know? I did laugh at certain points. I did laugh at certain points with the, you know, Barry interaction, you know? But overall, I'm not connecting with this film, and we're like a half hour in. All right? Then he finds out there's a Batman in that universe because Zod is coming. He goes to the Batman of that universe. Enter in Michael Keaton, right? Michael Keaton, which, by the way, if you have a different Batman, why would he still be Bruce Wayne? Why would he still live in the same place if this is an alternate universe and you have different people? Why would you have the same locations for those different people? I don't understand. Anyway, moving on. He goes, finds his Bat headquarters, and looking around for Bruce. And then Bruce pops up like a homeless Ninja Turtle with the Donatello mop. And he starts fighting these guys, you know? And my man hasn't bathed, showered, or shaved in like 30 months. And here he is fighting these two Barrys that I guess he just thinks is twins and all of that. And he's whooping them. He really is whooping them because, you know, he's Batman. So, but kind of weird introduction. He's on top of a table. Like, again, quirky, weird. where it starts to get great. I'm going to skip over the whole spaghetti thing where he's explaining timelines and all that stuff because honestly, I don't understand it. So where it starts to get great is when Batman, Michael Keaton, decides to put on the bat suit. All right. He dons the cape and cowl, the old school stuff, right? He says certain lines. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts, right? He's like, yeah, I'm Batman. You know, you get to see his the Bat Cave, you know? He's got the Batmobile, the Bat computer, all these things. You see all of these things and it's dope. It's fire, you know? For those who grew up with 89 Batman, this must have been a nostalgia paradise for you. I was born in 90, so I didn't have that, same connection to it. But I've seen the movies, and I appreciate what I saw. I thought it was dope. When he puts on that uniform, the movie, that suit, the bat suit, the movie goes in an upward trajectory from there, all right? Because you have the action from Batman. I feel like the story starts to make sense a bit. We have to do this and this to get to this, all right? So they go and rescue who they think is Superman, turns out to be Supergirl, right? And or Superwoman, I don't know. And she's fantastic, introduction of her, the acting of her, like the actress was stellar, fantastic. I loved it, And even here, like some of the CGI, picks up a bit. It gets a little better in this. I guess maybe they spent all their money there. But that whole sequence from him putting on the bat suit, honestly, all the way through to the third act, in my opinion, was great. I thought it was great. I loved it. I loved the fighting of Michael Keaton too. I'm sure it was a stunt double, but some of that might have been him. And it just like, he wasn't like this old stiff old man, he was really throwing down and the action was dope. I enjoyed that. I really did. And the action with Supergirl, fantastic. I thought her swag, her seriousness, and everything she was doing was dope. The Batwing stuff was fantastic. All of that. Oh, and also I should mention, seeing Ben Affleck and Gal Gadot earlier was cool too. I thought I was gonna get a little more of Ben Affleck, but is what it is. And Gal Gadot always kills it as Wonder Woman. But it was short-lived for Ben Affleck and Wonder Woman, right? So continue on, like everything else, up until I'd say they go in and they battle Zod. Even a lot of that was pretty dope. Again, I think it took away from me, him doing all this fight training. I would have rather seen like a Kung Fu Panda, with Master Shifu situation where, you're training with the bamboo sticks and the dumplings in the forest, Like, I would have much rather seen a montage like that with the both of them, him teaching him how to fight, rather than him teaching him mid-fight. So now I'm watching him teach him and also him fight them and all these things. And it's just like, it gets a little weird at that point, And then they keep doing this thing where this is where it starts getting downhill again, where towards the end they keep doing this thing where they're trying to prevent these people from dying, Batman and Supergirl, and they keep going back in time to try and, prevent it. Okay, now I know what to do. We'll do it differently this time. But it always leads to the same ending. It always leads to them dying. So wait. But, and here's the thing. They never finished the fight. Never. So that never gets resolved. So in my opinion, it's an unsatisfactory battle because it doesn't lead to anything. It's just kind of this open-ended thing because they end up staying stuck in the Speed Force with him going back and forth and him getting hit with shrapnel from Zod's people or whatever. The alien tech or whatever that eventually ends up consuming him, which means that he is the original thing that punched Barry out of the Speed Force to begin with, right? And then that's it. They don't go back into the world or anything like that. They just have to. That the alternate Barry ends up dying, rightfully blaming this Barry for doing this to begin with, because apparently he's been stuck there for like an eternity, and he's still consumed with trying to change the past, which could have been done so much better, but the execution was just a weird choice. You take us out of this fight, now we're in this Speed Force, and you're trying to convince Barry to stop because it's not going to change anything, but he won't stop because he's obsessed. And then he ends up dying. And I think it's Barry that kills him. Our Barry. I don't even remember, because I was just in that thing like, what is happening? And he dies. So it ends up being this terrible thing, and then you have this cameo vomit that occurs with all these different universes, Supermen and stuff like that, right? From all these different worlds, I guess because what he's doing is like pulling in all these different universes, but on all these different universes, you're seeing from the Nick Cage possible Superman, or what could have been Superman, to like the old school, 60s or 70s Superman, like people that are already dead, you know what I mean? Henry Cavill, Superman, like I think mostly all in CGI, by the way, and doesn't look all the best, but also like, why? I had a friend that brought this up. How come you didn't see the other Batman then? How come you didn't see, how come you didn't see Val Kilmer? How come you didn't see, I don't know, man. It just was weird, Was it great seeing them? Yeah. And I'm sure for a lot of people that was already into the Keaton nostalgia, this was even more nostalgic for them. But it doesn't make sense story-wise. It doesn't make sense. Why is this happening? Why are we only seeing them? And we're seeing these worlds colliding? But I thought this was his Speed Force. This wasn't is this all of a sudden a representation? I don't know what I'm looking at, man. I don't. And then he's like, he's got to let it happen. Which, he's got to go back in time, remove the tomato paste and all that stuff, and let his mom go. Again, you could have tried to figure out who in the world killed your mom to begin with. Even if you were going to let her go, maybe that would have pointed you to how you could free your father from jail. I don't know. But, it is the thought of it, the concept, the idea of it. Him having to let his mom go like that. I think it could have been executed better as far as acting goes. But overall, you turned a can of tomato paste and you made it have so much weight. I'm impressed with that. That does touch me. That does hit on an emotional nerve. Like, wow, man, would you do it? Would you let her go? That's the hardest thing ever to do. To let the person you might love the most, maybe next to your father, let her go so that everything else stays in balance. That's tough. And I love the idea of that. And I wish they explored that more effectively. Because as I said in my last video, I thought the idea of having all this power, but you can't save the ones you love the most, what an amazing idea. What a beautiful story to have. And then for some reason, Barry's able to do something right? That doesn't affect anything else. He moves an entire shelf of tomato paste to the top shelf so that the camera footage of his father that's used later on to exonerate him will show his face and show that he was not the one that killed his mom, because he is clearly seen somewhere else at the time of her death. Okay. That has no repercussions. If he put the can of tomato paste in the shopping cart, and that had a world of a domino effect, moving an entire shelf of tomato paste to the top doesn't. His father showing his face in the camera doesn't. There's no domino effect to that. That kind of seems odd. That kind of seems weird. And again, why did he not think to just go see who was the one who was trying to kill his mother? To begin with, you're still left with that question. For a forensic guy, this guy's not being very forensic here, Like, I don't know. So, yeah, man, and then, cut to the future, back to the present. Barry's dad gets exonerated because of the video footage. He's talking to the girl. They're trying to, I guess, set something up or whatever. Then, everything's back to normal. He's happy it's back to normal. And he got his dad out. Then he's talking to Bruce on the phone. Congratulations. Bruce shows up, pulls up in the whip, gets out the car. Oh my gosh, it's George Clooney, who also played Batman. And honestly, one of the worser, if that's a word, iterations in, I believe, Batman and Robin, with Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze. Forgetting the name. Forgive me. It's not one that I go back to often, to be honest with you. It just... Okay, so now Clooney's Batman in Barry's universe. Is that the result of the tomatoes being on the top shelf? Is that the result of some cosmic domino effect of Barry's dad showing his face in the camera now? Like, what? And that's the whole thing about it. So many of the cameos in this movie, they don't have a purpose. They don't have a use. Like in Across the Spider-Verse, the cameos, they add to the movie. They're intricate to the movie. They're part of the storyline. A lot of the cameos here cause more confusion than it does progress the story. And that shouldn't be happening in a movie. Especially one, might I add, not only that it's $200 million, but that's been done and shot and in the can for over a year. Come on. Like, what? You had all this time to edit this. Now, apparently, there's reports of there being 3 different scenes. I'm hearing that James Gunn may have chosen this one specifically or some. I don't know. I don't know what's true. I haven't looked deep enough into that. But apparently, there were multiple endings, and apparently one of the endings would have been a lot better, people are saying, if it is true. I feel like for a lot of people, this ending kind of was like initially like, oh, George Clooney. But then it was just like, after you sat with that for a second, it's like, what? And he's like, what's the matter, Barry? Like, what's wrong with you? What's going on? And he's sitting there like, you're Bruce? Like, that's how the movie ends. Starts off at the what in the world pendulum side. When Keaton puts on the bat suit all the way up to when they end up in the Speed Force again, we got some great stuff. Great decisions. Amazing choices. Loving it. Then, in the third act to the close of the movie, you swing right back over to the other side of what the heck is happening. You understand? It's like this weird mixture. Great choices and horrible ones all at the same time. And that is the Flash movie. And the horrible choices just continue into the post-credit scene. Don't waste your time if you're somehow watching this spoiler review and you haven't seen the movie. What a waste of time. I can't get those seconds on those minutes back. I can't unsee what I just saw, bro. And I saw something horrible. Why is Aquaman drunk with Barry? What is happening? Is he emotional over the Amber Heard Johnny Depp situation? Maybe he is. I don't know. But why? Why in the world is he drunk while Barry's trying to explain to him the things that happen? And then his house is across the street. Aquaman falls face first into a puddle of dirty water, and he's just rubbing his face in it, like blowing bubble, all this stuff. Like, yo, you know, Barry's like, yo, come across the street. My house is right there. You know, you crashed there. He's like, no, this is mine. I'll stay here. Like I belong here. Because it's water. And then Barry walks off and just tells someone like he's fine or something like that. It's so bad. It's such a bad post-credit scene. I wonder if it rivals the post-credit scene on Morbius. Not to bring it back to Morbius again. I'm sorry, Jared. I think you're great. You have a lot of potential. But you've made some bad choices. You need to know that. But that post-credit scene in Morbius, horrible. Like, what? This might be worse. It might be. Because at least that one was pointing to something possibly in the future. Even though it was completely hypocritical. But this joint, bro, this joint was pointless. I don't even know why they were together. I don't even know why. Again, another cameo for cameo's sake. Didn't even connect to the story, except for him explaining things. Why is man's drunk? Why is man's face first in a puddle of water in, what is he, in LA? No, these are fake places, right? I don't know. Why? Why didn't Barry pick him up? You leave Aquaman drunk in a puddle of water while you go home? Like, it's to the point where these things aren't funny. It's not funny to treat, you know, these characters like that. And I'm not saying that characters are these precious things that you have to be careful. I'm not of the mindset where everything has to even match with comics and stuff like that. I think that lies really well into the whole like canon stuff with Spider-Man, but like it doesn't have to be like crazy canon for me. But don't also mistreat them. What is Aquaman like the new Thor, the new fat Thor? I don't understand. That's what I'm saying. I'm leaving with questions that came from nowhere and leads nowhere and did nothing for me. It was pointless. If anything, it was like kind of like embarrassing. Like I'm looking at Aquaman in a puddle of water and I'm just like, I get it, but this is so stupid and embarrassing. I don't know why Momoa decided to even do that, like agree to that. Who chose this? It starts off leaving a bad taste in my mouth. It ends off with that same bad taste. And that makes it very hard for me to walk out of this movie giving it praise. I might change my mind a bit. Who knows? This was like with Doctor Strange. I saw Doctor Strange a second time. I was able to accept it and enjoy it more because I knew what I was walking into, you know? So maybe if I know what I'm walking into, and there were a few distractions with my first screening of this movie, maybe I'll be able to appreciate it more. But overall, y'all, swing and a miss for me. Big time. Big time. What they gave me in the trailer was not what they gave me in theaters. What they were selling me on was not what they sold me. Return to sender, man. Listen, out of everything I said, I'm not saying it's the right opinion. It's just my opinion. Little Sean Chandler for you there. And I would love to know your opinion. Hit me up. Drop a comment below. Let me know, what are your thoughts on the Flash movie? Have you seen it? If so, what do you think? You know, where do you stand with this? Where do you stand with, or maybe everything that Ezra's done is like, I can't see this movie, and I respect that. I totally respect that. And like one of my guys, E-Man movie reviews, he said this best. He was like, that's okay. That's okay. You're not really missing anything. I thought this movie would be so much more than what it was. And it doesn't even reset anything. We thought it was going to be the reset. Y'all go see Flashpoint Paradox, the animated movie. I appreciate you for sticking with me. If you stuck with me for this long in this video, I hope that you got something out of it. I hope that you were able to relate to certain things. I hope that we're able to continue to build community together here at Nerdy Rhythm. And I hope to see y'all in the next one. Please do me a favor. Hit the subscribe, hit the bell so you get the notifications of every video that I'm going to come out with. I got so many things I'm going to flood this channel with, and I'm aiming to be much more consistent. Please forgive me. I got a baby on the way and mad bills to pay. You feel me? All right, so let me know what y'all think. Give me a like, please. I appreciate you. Share with your mother, father, family, friends, and let me know what you thought of The Flash. Let's talk about it. Let's chop it up. All right. Once again, I go by the name of Alive. You can find me at Alive Raps. And you have just been at the dopest place on earth. Right here. This is Nerdy Rhythm. And I'll see y'all next time. I'm going to love you and leave you. And remember that even nerds have rhythm too. Peace.